Hello, Mustang fans, and welcome to another episode of the Mustang Owners Podcast. I'm your host, John Clore, along with my co host, Mike Ray. And whether you knew me from Auto Week Magazine, Ford SVT, Ford Racing, or Ford Performance, or knew Mike from his time at Team Mustang, Roush, Saleen, or the Mustang Owners Club of Southeastern Michigan, we can tell you this: we know you because of your Mustang story. And Mike, tonight, the Mustang story really has to be all about National Mustang Day, because what a holiday, Mike, that's turned out to be.
Yeah, something for our hobby that has really made people look forward to each and every year. And I know it's one of our bigger events for our club every year too.
Well, what a lot of people don't know, Mike, is that National Mustang Day really isn't something that Ford started. It's only about 10 years old, and it was actually started by the Mustang Owners Museum for a fundraiser for the museum. But now, Mike, for 10 years, really ever since the 50th anniversary, everybody and their brother wants to get out on National Mustang Day, which is celebrated on April 17th, 1964, because that's when Lee Iacocca announced the car in the New York World's Fair back in '64, and that so people consider that the birthday of the Mustang. So we're going to take you through, really, I think, Mike, the three biggest ones that we know here in the Midwest, the Mustang Day celebrations, and we'll begin with the National Mustang Day celebration that was held down at the Haldeman Museum, aka Gail Haldeman, the original designer of the Ford Mustang, who had passed away. Like Mike, it's been 5 years. Can you believe we lost
Yeah, I
him
cannot believe that already. That's crazy. It seems like we were just sitting at Miller's with him last week.
Well, his daughter Karen and granddaughter Lauren, they've gone ahead and kept the museum open, and every year they like to remember National Mustang Day, and this year was no different. It was rainy most of early April this year, and down at the museum, right at the barn, behind the barn, Mike, the grass was so wet. They was hoping that people would just come to enjoy the day with a special speaker instead of doing a little car show. So you'll note that our first picture we can show you from the barn is that when you go down there, Mike, you park, 50, 60, 70 cars behind there and have like a little party on the back lawn. But this year, Karen wasn't having any big ruts in the back grass. So she had everybody park out in front on the blacktop, and were invited inside for a very special presentation.
Very cool. And I think that probably, yeah, I would say it's be a nice lineup out front.
Well, surprisingly, there was really everything there. You'll see, a 65 coupe right up to a brand new GT. People drove, even though it was a cold, brisk, kind of a breezy day. The day before it had rained, the sun did come out for National Mustang Day. But like I said, some of them actually still drove their Mustangs. And just because, that's what that's what you do, right? I mean, what
Right.
do you, and believe it or not, and if the weather hit the 50s, we had some people, Mike, take the top down on their convertibles.
Yeah, I see that there. That's really cool. That's good. That's what they're made for.
Mike, that's not what your ears are made for. When you're when you're driving and it's 50 degrees out. But yeah, a lot of the people that showed up, they had their tops down and they wanted to come and celebrate the right way. They backed in out in front, and they run what they brung, whether that was something they've had in their family for a long time, or it was something they just recently purchased. Like one couple that just got their car, their new Mustang GT, days before, and one of its first journeys was driving from Indianapolis all the way to Tip City, Ohio, for this event. And of course, Mike, what's a National Mustang Day without a first gen?
Right. Yep. Gotta love them. That's still on my bucket list to own one of them.
But Mike, it's weird. 60 years later, Gale's design of that coupe still holds up. It's still, to me, I don't know, maybe I'm just biased, but it's still a pretty car.
Yeah, and that's what everybody resonates Mustang with, right? That's what they always envision when you first say Mustang.
So you got to give somebody credit that they'll take, if you brought a brand new S550, it's one thing, but to drive your original 65 with points and condenser and bi-ply tires and all that stuff on a cool day, well, by God, that's cool too. But yeah, we pretty much had everything there. I think everything but a second gen. Of course, my second gen was in the
Yours was
museum.
inside, right? Wasn't
as, was,
it?
as was your Fox body.
Yeah.
But yeah, the vehicle, there's a brand new S650. Of course, vehicles of choice, Mike, it seems to be now the S550 is really taken over.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That's the biggest what can I say, participants in most of the car shows that we're seeing these days. Was Jeff Black down here with this event?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, okay.
oh yeah. He had set up the system. Jeff Black wanted to meet the special guest, which is, was Emmeline King. And
Yep.
Emmeline King and had never been down to the Haldeman Museum.
Oh
Emmeline,
wow, that was her first time?
that's her first time. She'd
Okay,
never done
wow.
that. So she wanted a picture next to Gail. Of course, Emmeline's tiny, and Gail's cutout is over 6 feet, which Gail wasn't 6 feet.
No, she's standing right where I stood.
That's right. That's where you stood in the original picture. So
Yeah,
she was the special guest speaker, and of course she was there to talk about. She filled there's the back room, Mike,
yeah,
and she filled that room and told her story of her book. Who says black girls can't design cars? Emmeline King, she did it. And of course,
right.
she's the first black female car designer in the history of Ford. And working under Bud McGaldy as the chief stylist, she did the interior. And she came out, and Mike, you're very familiar with her presentation. She gave a talk. Some people had tears in their eyes. What a moving, inspirational talk she did. And who better to do that on National Mustang Day?
And car of the year. I mean, like just it speaks for itself just by saying that.
Only you could have come up with when she appeared at the Moxie meeting. I think, did you have the actual trophy in your hand?
Yeah, we actually borrowed
What?
it from Mike Verardi, who is the owner of that trophy now. That was one of the things that was getting tossed out with Ford, and Mike saved it. And it's the actual Motor Trend trophy for car of the year for that Mustang.
Well, that's one thing that she really loved. And here, I had to walk her back to the museum. She spoke with everyone, and you know how she is, Mike. She talks to everyone. She told about her career at Ford, her love for the SN95, and for Bud McGaldy. She knew and met Gail. She knew Jack Telnack, and she talked to everyone, sold her books, autographed. And Mike, she didn't get a chance to really walk through the museum, so I took a few minutes to take her back through and show her some of the original sketches that were back there. And
Yeah,
Mike, she knew a lot of those designers, even though she wasn't really into Ford until that SN95 years. Some of those guys from the first gen cars were still around when she got to the company, and
right.
she was amazed to see some of Gail's original drawings in the museum, and it was kind of emotional for her too. Of course, Gail's daughter Karen has the book in her hand. Of course, her granddaughter has. I think the exchange book the Haldermans gave
That's
Emmeline
cool.
the Gail's book, which is Mustang by Design, and
Right.
then Emmeline gave the Haldermans Emmeline King's book, and
Good, good.
they both signed them back and forth, and there they are in the office of the museum exchanging their books. What a great day to have National Mustang Day. People did stick around quite the time because Emmeline had so many great stories, and how she is. She's just so personal and personable,
You
and
know, John. We always get asked, why do we do what we do? We don't get paid, all this stuff, running clubs and putting all these events together and things like that. And it's for the people we meet and the relationships that we build. That me and you can both call Gail and Emmeline just close personal friends,
yeah.
and they're not acquaintances or somebody who used to work at Ford. They're literally our friends and our Mustang family, and that's why we do what we do. If any of you guys are wondering why we do that.
Yeah, Mike, and I think what makes it special, a lot of people could drive their Mustang around with their group of friends on National Mustang Day, but by having it at one of these events, especially the one down there at the Haldeman Museum, and having a speaker, someone as notable to me as Emmeline King, just makes it special. And I think, your efforts on the behalf of the club and my attempts to try to make those little things just a little bit more personal and more forward by bringing the retirees in. We can't do it without the retirees. They really have a big part of the Mustang story.
Yeah, and I think they're all so willing to work with us on anything. It's just we're so appreciative of that and their friendships.
We're very lucky. That's for darn sure. Well, of course, that wasn't the only National Mustang Day celebration. The week after the Haldeman show, Mike, some guy named Mike Ray that runs something called Moxum, the Mustang Owners Club of Southeast Michigan. Do you know that guy?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, he threw a National Mustang Day event at Gateway Classic Cars in Dearborn, and he wanted to do something special. So this Mike Ray fellow tried to get every single 60th anniversary color, red, white, and blue. And is it true it was also Brittany blue?
Well, we did not have a Vapor. We had the Brittany blue, we had the Wimbledon white, and we had the race red. Race red is to the left of that white car in that picture. Hopefully, we have one with all three of them in it.
Well, I get,
Those were the front and center were the three cars there.
well, of course, you got to have the 60th anniversary cars, and even though those were not at Halderman's, that's why we kind of have that one at Dearborn. Mike,
Right.
it looked pretty tough in the morning. It was supposed to clear up at noon when the National Mustang Day show started in Dearborn, but it was a really stubborn, drizzly, cloudy day, and I really think that hurt attendance.
Yep. We still have packed that parking lot. Me and Linda Bastow from Gateway went out and looked, and there was no empty parking spots. So that was still nice to see a little bit afternoon, about 12:30, 1 o'clock ish.
A testimony to those who brought their car out. Here's like a brand new Mach 1. I'll
Yep.
tell you, I would be tempted not to drive my Mustang on a rainy day because all the water gets, they go, why, what's wrong with you? They're meant to drive. But you know how the water gets up underneath and then
Yeah.
and then it takes you like 3 days to clean it. But to see these new cars, some of the great new ones, and Mike, even at your show, there are some older cars. Of course, there's this
There's
very
Bad
famous.
Penny.
Now, what's the story on this? This is by one of the Maxim owners.
It's Langware's car.
Langware,
It was
that's
built
right.
by Classic Design Concepts, and it was a SEMA car for Ford that George Huseman and his team put together. And I actually got to drive that car myself around MIS and had a lot of fun in it. And it's called Bad Penny because it's like a copper penny all the way around it, all the trim, all the wheels, everything, all the badging, everything is all like a big penny, and it is really a noticeable and very well known car now in the neighborhood.
Yeah, everywhere it goes, people say, wait a minute, is that the SEMA Bad Penny car? And of course,
Yeah,
Langware is very proud of that thing, as he
yeah,
should be. As he should
yes.
be. Very cool to own that. Now, here's one that if you have problems seeing at night, you won't have any problem seeing this car. And you put this next to the very nice soft yellow Fox body that's next to a brand new Mustang. You can tell yellow has been part of the Mustang palette for many years. And Mike, it seems the newer cars that we get, the more bright and more absolutely outrageous the yellows become.
Yep, yep, absolutely.
But you'll notice, Mike, this one's been a little bit customized. I don't think that when they first did the Mustang, the running horse was yellow.
No, Joe did a lot of customization on that. It's an air suspension as well. And I think believe the title of the car is Creamsicle.
Is it okay? That thing is right on the ground. Well, beyond that, we had some a lot of special cars there, but you can tell that most of that morning, Mike, even though you got some fantastic entertainment, people are out there saying, I'm going to go wipe down my car. And then it was nice and clean and people were taking pictures. And then here come a little sprinkle and they went back out and they wiped down their car. And it's just one of those days, Mike. But
Was
it's National Mustang Day, right?
Yep, and we had a detail guy on the spot, so he was selling a lot of chamois that day.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
That's Garrett from 3D. Yep.
So chamois are a big deal. Of course, so we have another guy on your club, Mike McGree,
Yep.
who has the Outlaw car. Was that another CDC?
Yep. That was another CDC Outlaw car. Very, very popular, and Mike wins a lot of awards with that car, and that's definitely an eye catcher. And that interior, most people don't get to see the interior. That interior is top notch in that car as well.
But, you gotta have something cool. And Mike always teases everybody. He doesn't think he wins enough awards, but it's a very nice looking car. And when he shows up, he rolls up, what you got there.
Yeah.
And speaking of knowing what you got, Mike, nowadays, I just think before I retire, I'm going to have to get a new Mach 1. This green one there, that thing was so cool to see this car. And it reminds me of all the great green Machs in the first gens that we saw back in 1969. And there's just so much heritage. This is why you celebrate National Mustang Day.
Right. I agree.
And why you do it in Dearborn, right?
Yep.
And somebody said, is that the new Bullet? I said, no, but this kind of looks like a Bullet.
Yeah. I believe that one's David Chantel's Kalinowski's car.
Now, there's really, I don't care what, 68 fastback you have. If you pay in Highland Green and you kind of dechrome it a little bit, there's just only one car it can be. And
Yep.
Mike,
Man, we have another whole story with that, and we've already done a podcast with that owner.
Right. And those cars, say what you will about any kind of 68 fastback, red, green, blue, but the green ones that are made to look like this, they're made to harken back to the Bullitt movie. And I just love seeing them. There's just something special about having that there. And I'm so appreciative they took it out on this day to be with us on National Mustang Day.
Yeah.
Now, Mike, I don't believe just regular SN95's got the Mystic treatment, but there were paint shops that would try to match that. And we have an owner in our club who had a very wild color changing SN95.
Yep, definitely a Mystic try right there, and I think it looks really, really good.
Well, if you look really close, now it's a very nice convertible. If you look really close, though, it's not exactly Mystic. There's more green, a lot of purple. It's hard to see the root beer in this, but really cool car to try to match, what SVT did in '96 with the Mystic, and then later on, of course, for the anniversary car for Mystic Chrome. But to see them out there, and here she was detailing her beautiful Mustang, getting those raindrops off. And I just think the raindrops just help paint look a little bit better, actually.
Yep.
Very cool. Well, speaking of yellow, you didn't tell me that the S650 would come in that vibrant.
Yeah, you don't see too many of the yellows around, but they do stick out for sure.
So low take rate, Mike, and some people will say that yellow on a Mustang is a hard sell, but I find that people look for the exotic colors, and it may not be as difficult as you might think, because they are kind of rare to see a yellow Mustang, and people that want yellow, they'll chase them.
Well, and you got to remember, back in the day, remember YMR, the Yellow Mustang Registry was the place to be. Before RMR really came about, the Yellow Mustang Registry was showing up at 200 plus cars at every event, and so yellow was very, very popular. And then red, obviously the color that's most made of Mustangs, right, including my hoodie here.
Oh yeah.
But it's they started growing, and they grew really quickly, and they started out doing the yellows, and so yeah, they had a little fun for years, and we hosted the color war between the reds and yellows one year at Mustang Memories as well.
Very cool to see. When you put a bunch of these cars on the back lot of the meeting out there we have at Gateway, it's like somebody dropped a bag of Skittles. It's just so colorful. Now, here's a color, Mike, that you don't see every day. It's not, when we just look at a Bullitt and you think of Highland green or the dark green, metallic green, and nowadays, I'm noticing more and more cars are starting to wear this color. You'll see more greens in like Broncos now than I've ever seen before. Is this like an up and coming color, especially with the Euro taillights? This one stood out.
That one looks, I think that one was wrapped for sure. But yeah, people are really loving the green. And it's so funny because today, one of my memories, the Roush 729 SEMA car that I did in Grabber Green has gotten a lot of attention more recently as well, too. So green's really hot color on the market now, and people are loving it, and a lot of them are getting wrapped.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Of course, if you're going to go out and be serious about your Mustang, I guess it'd be a good idea to bring a very cool, expensive Shelby.
I think that's the Rutkowski's car there. That's a 68 KR. Beautiful car.
I mean, to get a KR and bring it out on National Mustang Day, yeah, it rained a little bit, but this is, when you talk about King of the Road, Mustang really has been, and always will be, in my opinion, the king of the road and of American cars. And just to see that, Mike, at the show, that's a testament to the club members who just want to be participating in a day that this is important.
Yeah, that's a high dollar car right there. So, yep.
Yeah, you ain't gonna find that at the used car trade-in a lot.
Yeah.
Again, I didn't notice if Mike Berardi did come, but if he did, he would bring a big horse. And this baby was absolutely beautiful. The Ram Air hood. I mean, I know it's tucked in the back there, but man, these cars are getting more and more popular, Mike. I think they're starting to really come into their own to the big horses. The 71 through 73s are really growing in popularity.
Yeah. And, they all have their own stigmas there, but the big horses are really, really a popular car. They just don't get enough recognition, just like the Mustang 2s, but they all deserve it.
Oh, absolutely. I'm really glad that they were able to make it to the National Mustang Day show as well. And that's what makes it cool, in my opinion. Of course, we've had so many great members. I believe this car, one of our members had passed away. She passed this car down on to her daughter.
Yep.
And now she was in the S550 club locally.
Yep, that's Melanie Cotter, and she's a big time active Moxa member as well. So yeah, she's been taking her mom's car and taking it everywhere and enjoying it, and I'm really glad that she's doing so.
Yeah, stand out, and you got that big graphic on the side, the blackout wheels. To have her carry on the legacy of her mom, who was very active and just loved the whole Mustang family, to come to the show and be there as part of National Mustang Day, very cool. Keep it in the family, Mike.
Yeah.
Love it. Oh boy! And then when we talk about some guys that really had a long, painstaking work to keep their dream alive and their cars alive. This fellow, boy, when he put his Fox body together, he spent many days and hours and so much time building his car and getting it the way he loved it. To bring it to the show, it was really a spectacular Fox.
Yeah, I absolutely love that hood on those cars on the Fox bodies.
You know, the cars are good looking on their own, but that thing just does something to it. You
Yeah.
know, and it really goes well with the front spoiler. You know, the Foxes, let's face it, they've come into their own now. They're the sweet spot of the hobby. Everybody's talking about them. And, you know, I didn't want to tell them that I was going to try to trade them those chrome ponies and get them off that car so I could use them on my second gen.
Yeah.
They do fit, but yeah, very nice car. Now, every once in a while, we do get one of your members that has a very early Mustang.
Yep.
And I'm talking, you know, the guys who know what a 64 and a half is.
Right.
And the fact that they'll come, even on a day that everybody knew that, hey, there was a good chance you're going to get a free car wash that Mike Ray would not charge you for. But yeah, these guys, we see them all the time at the meeting. They brought their early Mustang out. It was so great to see. I love the lights in the grill on early rally pack cars and the GT packages. There's just something about those extra fling that makes those early Mustangs special when you got a little bit of options on them.
Yeah, and like you said earlier, I'm glad that all these people actually still brought the cars out with the bad weather in the morning, and there's a lot of nice cars that came out, especially a lot of first gens.
Yeah, and that's the ones, Mike, you usually just, people say, I'll just bring the
Right.
newer one because it's,
Yep.
and some of them actually daily drive them, but yeah, to see this car out here and have the guys come out with their first gen, very cool. It kind of really what makes Moxham different from a lot of clubs who just, the guys are just going to glue that car in that garage until the sun comes out.
Right.
Well, you did have some, I would say, racing heritage cars, some different breeds. Some of the, local Detroit people had, let's say, inside tracks. Maybe they chased down some early Mustangs that appeared in competition, and these things are really popular to see. You know, I know this year even at Carlisle they're going to have a Capri reunion for motorsports cars, but motorsports themed cars, Mike, always get attention whether they have roundels on them or not.
Yeah, we did one when I was at Roush, and we did the old the motor craft car.
Okay.
Remember with the oil filters, and boy, did that car get a ton of attention. So yeah, people like the throwback looks on a lot of these cars.
Yeah, there's just something about motorsports heritage, and that's what makes Mustang so cool. Very neat. Well, Mike, to wrap things up, I think we should talk about the granddaddy of them all, the person responsible for really National Mustang Day, was someone that actually was responsible for the Mustang Owners Museum
And the Mustang Owners Podcast.
and really, yeah, the father of the Mustang Owners Podcast. And the reason behind the National Mustang Day wasn't originally just hey, let's go out and screw around with Mustangs. It was, hey, well, we started this museum down here in Concord, North Carolina, and by God, we should do something as a little fundraiser. So we'll create National Mustang Day, and we'll sell a cling, which, by the way, you're still available through the museum, and we'll celebrate them, and we'll have a party at the museum. And our good friend, the late Steve Hall, created that day back, 10, 11 years ago now, and ever since then, the Mustang Owners Museum down in Concord has held National Mustang Day. Clubs from around the country do purchase their clings, whether they come down to North Carolina or not. But you know what, Mike? They always seem to get a good crowd. The crowd knows where the National Mustang Day came from, and it's right down here in Concord at the Mustang Owners Museum. And by God, they had a good turnout this year.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of cars there. This is my first time seeing the pictures from that event.
Yeah, so they had the full gambit. They kept on when Steve's tradition of having like a show and shine. He loved having speakers, and then as you know, Mike, they coordinate the show and shine. The people and park their cars out in front, and they get them judged by some of the people there but they also have the Mustang Owners Museum Hall of Fame, and they
Yeah.
have their induction ceremony. So some of these cars will be judged by people in the Hall of Fame. So they love to bring the cars out. Unlike Detroit, Mike, down there in Charlotte, they have more sunny days than we do.
Yep. Yeah, but they had a lot of good inductees again this year, headlined by our good friend Mr. Dave Parasek.
Yes, I understand he gave a video
Yep,
acceptance.
acceptance. Yep,
And we had a couple of our speakers down there as well. A good friend, Art Hyde,
yep,
uh, engineer on two Mustangs, and of course Bud McGaldy was down there to speak too. But they got to walk around too and see some of the mix of great cars, new and old. It seems, Mike, down in Charlotte, they had a little stronger representation of S197s than we did here in Detroit. And I don't know why that is. I just think that they make great road cars. A lot of people drive them as everyday drivers down the South.
yeah.
So you know, maybe they save the newer ones for for hanging out. But they had a brand new car right next to an original car, and if I think that's, if I'm correct about that, that car is an MCA Gold Award winner, an original green original coupe, and I believe it was that. It could have been one of the original MCA 64 and a halves that came out. They had Fox bodies. I don't know if I saw any second gens there, Mike. Which is, again, that's tough. But again, first gen represented well, and then
Yeah.
of course all the way to the 2025 car, which is what the Owners Museum is all about.
Correct.
Again,
Yeah, there's S197, as you just said.
yeah, but these guys, they're so easy to customize. Whether they're interior mods, wheels and tires, there was so much available for these cars. Really put them back on the map. So I just was kind of going through the photos of the show down there. I was just kind of amazed at how many variants there were of S197s. And you and I shouldn't complain because we both own one.
Yep, and that's the CDC light bar that was in that convertible as well.
Right, absolutely. There's one from the Pony Ride. Again,
2+2.
they're so blessed to have this beautiful weather, but these cars lined up both out in front of the museum, and out on the road in front of the museum, out in front in the parking lot, and around the block. They did have a tent set up for some of the talks, but there's plenty of time to go out and kick some tires and talk to owners, which is what Mustang Day, Mike, is really all about. Go out and get seen, and then go talk to some other owners and check out their rides to make sure that they're welcome as part of the family, whether you've been to one or not.
Yeah, and man, does that red steak stand out, doesn't it? And back then it was called Poppy Red, wasn't it?
The Poppy Red, the Rangoon Red is brighter. Poppy Red's more orange. This is a 60. Now for me, I know they did a poll back at USA Today that asked people what their favorite Mustang body style was. And way back then, Mike, they said it was the 67, 68.
Yep.
I was kind of shocked by that. Maybe that's the influence of the Bullet car. I don't know. But for me, the 67 was a little more favored because of the two straight inlets on the rear quarters. Instead of the little chrome piece you'll see on a 68, the 67 had these. Now, those folks were not real brake cooling ducts, the little metal insert. I know people, Mike, that took those apart, cut holes in them, and did make those functional. But I believe because of a cost save, they just went to the chrome strip because that required punching through the steel and making the grille. That's all extra money. But I like these cars, and to see them out being driven, awesome.
Oh, beautiful!
What I say to you about
beautiful
Mach
70? Wow.
What I say about Mach 1s, they're just,
Yeah, that is just absolutely gorgeous. That's my favorite picture I've seen out of all the cars that we've done here tonight.
Well, whether it's the original, the first years for the Mach 1, the first 2 or 3 years they came out, whether I like Mustang 2 Mach 1s or the new ones, Mike, there's just something about a Mach 1, which is why I think when Ford decided to name their EV Mustang branded car, they used the word Mach because the Mach it meant something, and that was a great little car to see it out there.
You were just saying 67, 68, 69, and 70 are my favorite.
Again, you can't go wrong no matter which one you pick. Very cool. Now there's Lynn's car. That
Another
was her
early car.
She's got a 65. I think she bought that brand new, that convertible. She's out of Virginia, and she's got her MCA medallion in that car. And I think, Mike, the last I heard, that Mustang has over 400,000 miles on it.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. I love seeing all these first gen cars that people are bringing out.
And Lynn drove it all the way up from Virginia to the show to see an original 65 with many, many, many love miles on it. And boy, if you've been to MCA shows, you've seen Lynn's car out there. It's just she just can't let go of it. It's part of the family.
Yeah.
Now there's your buddy Mike.
There's Mr. McGaldy.
So they had both seminars during the day where you get to hear from several speakers. Of course, Bud was the chief designer of the SN95. Mike, unfortunately, when you brought him to your MOXA meeting, somebody asked him why he designed horizontal taillights on the 1994 Mustang. And they gave him some, and he had a good explanation, talked about, if you
the
look
body
at
lines.
Yeah, when you look at the body lines on a 94, those taillights they carry the line over. And of course, Mustang people being who they are, they'll still complain. And they told Bud, you can't have horizontal taillights on a Mustang. And it did take Ford 2 years to put him back vertical, even though he still said he thought his design looked better. And of course, there's your other friend,
Mr. Art Hyde.
Art Hyde, forever young. How he survived, being the chief engineer on two generations of Mustangs. It's amazing. But what a wealth of knowledge Art is. And also, Mike, I think, as a tribute to Ford, one of the first engineers to really engage with the enthusiast community and clubs.
Yeah, and if you guys come to the Woodward Dream Cruise, Mustang Alley was created by that man right there, Mr. Art Hyde.
And you probably always see him there anyway.
Yeah, he's everywhere. He's an enthusiast, and so is Bud McGaldy. Both of those guys, you're going to see them at a lot of events, walking around and just mingling and talking to people, and incognito, not putting their name on their shirt, trying to find out who they are, and they'll just talk to them just like anybody else on the street.
Well, that's why I'm not quite that famous, which is why I put my name on my shirt. Yeah, that's why. Anyway. Yeah, so I guess I know that's the Mustang Owners Museum, and they're only just down the road from the Ford Performance Racing School.
Yeah.
But how did they snare a car? Michelle Hall and her daughter probably had made a phone call and said, "Hey, get one of these cars down here." And those are cool to see at any show.
They need to be there. Yeah,
we got to get one of those, Mike.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Of course, where did all that racing stuff start?
Yeah. With the GT350s, right?
Yeah. Some guy named Carroll Shelby went racing.
I love that car.
Yeah, to see a 350 there, there's just so much pedigree.
God, and I'm trying to remember. I know to get the owner of that car's name, but I can't think of it right now.
But to see, Mike, that's what you do. You bring them to the show, and that's where it all began for Ford Racing in the Mustang world, was the first SCCA championship that Mr. Shelby helped us win. So very cool that he brought the car out. Now, wait a minute, Mike.
There's a Brittany Blue, but a GT500s.
Some cars, I mean, talk about kings of the road, but just a new GT500, that's about as good as it gets.
Yeah, and it matches the Ford Performance bracelets this year.
That's right. By the way, Mike, I don't know. I don't want to be sound sexist or anything, but we call them wristbands.
Yes.
Anyway, no, but the GT500 and the modern day GT, I don't care which one you've got from 07 on up. Those things are just absolute beasts.
That's 760 horsepower sitting right there.
Just command respect. Very cool. There you go. Yeah. Isn't that a cool shot? Beautiful. Yeah. Some guy named Gerard Ferrioli may have shot some of these photos. I don't know where I've heard that name before.
That's a great shot right there.
Yeah, the guy behind the knobs and buttons of the Mustang Owners podcast took some beautiful pictures there, and you got a couple of different generations in one shot. That's what that day is about.
Right.
Now, a lot of people don't know about some of the pace cars that we did, but Jamie Allison, the head of Ford Racing, sure knew about the Kentucky Speedway pace car that Ford Racing did. I think, Mike, one of your friends from Ford, Mickey Mattis, had a lot to do with this car as well.
And if Marty Maris sees this car, he's going to want to know the owner's name so he can buy it and add it to his stable.
Let's see on a quest to get every Mustang pace car.
He's got more pace cars than anybody else, I believe.
Well, how these guys, after a pace car is made, the cars aren't titled, they're given to the racetrack, they pace the race for a year, and how they don't get crushed or how people find them, I'll never know. But guess where you found it? At the
I'm glad they
Mustang,
did.
at the Owners Museum on National Mustang Day. Very cool. Now there's a classic shot, Mike.
66, love it.
You went to the Owners Museum. It's National Mustang Day, and you're rolling by at the Owners Museum. The sun's shining. That's what makes that's like a classic. What did I do on National Mustang Day 2025?
That's a great shot right there. Probably the best shot, I think, so far
Well,
of
don't
all
keep saying that
pictures.
because Ferriol, it's all going to go to his head. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so they did have that cool dinner. They called it the whole hog roast.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's not like the pulled pork at Arby's.
Now, is this inside somewhere, John,
Yeah,
in the
so
museum area, or?
yeah, they have this roast. It's just down the road from the museum. Actually, it's really
Okay.
close. And they take the whole hog, and I mean they have to limit it because they just did one hog for you, and they every bit of it's gone. But what a feast they had, and they had a speaker there, and people, they had all kinds of fun. They had Tom Cotter, and they had it's 4 or 5 different speakers, I think, from all walks of the Mustang world. And so you had a little bit of entertainment, you had great food, to kind of get you prepped up for the next day, which was the show, and of course the induction into the Mustang Owners Museum Hall of Fame, which this shot is from. Now that was back at the hotel. You can tell they had a special program where you have each person that gets inducted that particular year gets a very special award, and they get a chance to get up and speak. And everybody that goes to this banquet gets to meet some of these great Mustang heroes, Mike. As you and I both know, if you don't make an opportunity to see them when you can, you may never get to see them.
Correct. Yep, I agree.
Well, here's the collection of folks that they had. I know Bud was there. Steve Turner, to see Steve Turner, our friend, get into the journalism award there. So glad. I've known Steve since, back when he was writing, I don't know if it was Muscle Mustangs and Fast Forwards, or I don't know which Mustang magazine. He's written for so many of them, but I met him back at the 95 Cobra R launch, and to see so many people receive, it's cool that they receive that honor. And now, Mike, the Hall of Fame also exists for the Halderman Museum, and I think it's really cool that the museums have taken up the mantra of finding people in the hobby that deserve recognition.
Yeah, Steve Turner's a great guy. I think I've known him for about a dozen years already too, and great contributor to the hobby.
Well, I'll tell you what, Mike, National Mustang Day gets cooler and cooler. I have to thank all of the people who run the museums. Next up, Mike, we will have to make a trip down to the Mustang Museum of America to see Bob and Gary Powell, and how
can't wait.
That one of the earliest museums was put together for Mustang. But folks, I hope that you enjoyed our little trip down memory lane for what National Mustang Day 2025 looked at 3 of the bigger museums, or actually 3 of the bigger events that was held. And hopefully you had a big event, folks, or if you had a local club or a local drive, hopefully you did something on Mustang Day. Mike, how can we get them to participate, even if they're not in a club? I mean, just driving it is all you need to do, right?
Yeah, and I mean, it's just a day celebrating that car, and get out and call your friends and could go hang out, whether it's just in a parking lot, at an organized event, anything, just get out and celebrate the Mustang.
Well, Mike, you're so right, and I hope you guys enjoyed that little trip all across the country on National Mustang Day, and you'll join us again next time when we do another cool car show feature, and hopefully Gerard won't get so many compliments on his photos.
Yes.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Mustang Owners Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast, whether you're on YouTube or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. And also to check out our merch at svtstore.com to get your Mustang Owners Podcast shirt, hoodie, or whatever. If we see you at a car show with Mustang Owners Podcast merch or wearables, you get a free prize. So until next time, we'll just have to catch you down the road.